What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick. I can't wait to see what you do with that, Akakis. And today, we've got something crazy. Every single person who watches this video is gonna realize they actually want to be notified of new content instead of having YouTube suppress it, so they're gonna click that bell icon, right? But no, seriously, guys, the new Ager Scepter has just come out. It has entered Season of the Lost via an exotic quest. If you haven't got it, I've done a guide on how to get it. Definitely click that, it's linked up above. However, this weapon is probably the most powerful stasis weapon we currently have in the game, and its exotic abilities allow stasis builds to go absolutely buck wild. We're going to show how this new exotic makes a kind of existing warlock build just that next level powerful within PvE. So firstly, let's take a look at the Scepter's exotic perks. It has the intrinsic perk Ager's Call. Final blows with this weapon generate a slowing burst around the defeated target. Then we've got another perk here, Riga's Refrain. Stasis final blows transfer ammo to this weapon's magazine from reserves. Basically, subsistence, but only on stasis final blows. So, the result of using this in PvE is that if you kill one single enemy, all nearby enemies will freeze solid. And then if you kill those enemies, they're going to explode, chain together, and freeze more nearby enemies, and the cycle just continues. This, just on its own, with no synergies, is one of the best ad-clearing weapons in the game. But things get absolutely crazy when you start to involve these stasis subclasses and already existing stasis synergies. So first off, the exotic we're going to be using here is the Verity's Brow Exotic Warlock Helmet. Now this says quite a lot actually with the fourth magic, weapon final blows with a damage type matching your subclass energy grant death throws, which provide a grenade damage bonus and grant you grenade energy. When you have death throws and throw a grenade, nearby allies gain greatly increased grenade regeneration for a short time. So the Verity's Brow has been utilized in Grenadier builds for a long time, but it used to work differently. You could trigger death throws with any energy weapon, but the increase was less. So with this season, you now have to have a matching elemental type now that stasis weapons were finally introduced, but the increase from death throws is much sharper, a 20% damage increase with each stack, stacking up to 5 times for a 100% damage increase. But originally when Season of the Lost launched, I mean, what were your choices for stasis weapons? The Fractalist, right? And even though you could get some good rolls, especially with Headstone, none of them have the killing and freezing power of the Scepter. Then when we take a look at what we're using in our subclass, things get really insane. So, looking at the aspects, we're using Ice Flare Bolts. So, shattering a frozen target spawns Seekers that track and freeze other nearby targets. This really just lets you continue chaining freeze. If you get all of the enemies in a singular area with the Ager Scepter and the other enemies are just a little bit too far away, often an Ice Flare Bolt will be able to reach that second group of enemies, and then you can just continue the chain from there. Next up, we've got Bleak Watcher. So you hold down your grenade and then you throw it and it turns into a stasis turret. Now it should be noted that this stasis turret is incredible. This is used in Grandmaster loadouts because of how good it is at freezing enemies, and death throws and the damage bonus that provides actually does apply to your Bleak Watcher. If you have death throws times 5, your Bleak Watcher is going to be hitting for double damage. But now let's take a look at those fragments. Firstly, we have Whisper of Torment. You gain grenade energy each time you take damage from targets. Self-explanatory, we want more grenades. Then we've got Whisper of Bonds. Defeating frozen targets grants you super energy. So this thing, with this build, and specifically with the Scepter, oh my goodness, guys. Like, it has never, ever been easier to trigger this fragment. You can see me on the throwaway here, just slaying out. Look at how much super I'm getting. I get my entire super. I'm not using anything to gain super other than Whisper of Bonds, I get my super in like a little over 20 seconds just by slaying out. You get so much super energy every time you kill a frozen target, and every target you're gonna kill pretty much because of the Scepter is gonna be frozen. Truly insane. Now, the next fragment we have here is Whisper of Chains. While you are near a frozen target or a friendly stasis crystal, you take reduced damage from targets. Again, we're always going to be near frozen targets, so you basically have damage resistance up 100% of the time. And lastly, we have Whisper of Fissures. Increases the damage and the size of a burst of stasis when you destroy a stasis crystal or defeat a frozen target. So that second part is so important. We're not really making crystals here, but we are killing frozen targets, and we want that explosion to hit the next guy and then chain to the next guy and then chain as much as possible. Now, the only other things I would recommend to bring this build together is definitely make sure to be using one weapon with Demolitionist. You know, the Aikilos SMG here is a great choice. And then lastly, definitely use the Elemental Ordnance mod, because then your grenades will spawn elemental wells, stasis elemental wells, which will give you more ability energy. Why the heck not? It's a self-contained great mod. And then of course, because we're relying on the Scepter, make sure you're using trace rifle finders and a trace rifle scavenger. So what is the result of all of these things coming together? Well, I've been talking about it a little bit, but truly it is incredible. This type of build, again, was already utilized in stuff like Grandmasters, but it's always been utilized with perhaps a different exotic helmet, such as the Eye of Another World for that base stat increase. But the Scepter really combos with the Verity's Brow because of that matching elemental damage and output to your Stasis subclass. Now again, this was possible in other ways with the new stasis weapons that came out just this season. You could use the Fractalist shotgun, right, to do stasis damage, or you could use something like the Judgment Hand Cannon with a Demolitionist plus Osmosis. A lot of people were recommending that, but the problem is that neither of those weapons, no weapon, is going to be freezing enemies as easily as the Scepter. Even if you have, let's say, the new Stasis Hand Cannon with Headstone to create a crystal after you get a precision kill, that's very localized. This is freezing like 5 or 6 nearby enemies most of the time. And then those frozen enemies, as you've seen with what we're using in terms of fragments, are valuable. Not just are they taken out of the fight, they can't hit you back because they're completely frozen solid, they're easy targets for you to kill, but they're also giving you more ability energy, they are giving you more super energy, they are giving you damage resistance. Like, being able to freeze enemies this easily and then benefiting so much from having frozen targets nearby because of your stasis build is truly incredible. And I really do plan on trying out the Scepter in Grandmasters this season. Being able to freeze targets has been invaluable in the past, and I really want to see what this thing can do. Oh, and not only that, guys, if your teammates are also utilizing this build, because Verity's Brow gives your allies grenade regeneration when you throw a grenade, if you have multiple people using this, you're really buffing each other. You're going to be throwing your Bleak Watchers. That makes your allies throw their Bleak Watchers even more, which in turn makes you throw even more, right? So definitely multiple people utilizing this build will stack, and it will be very synergistic. And so guys, definitely try this one out. I mean, the Scepter has really opened a lot of stasis possibilities, and it's made kind of stasis builds go from maybe A tier up into the S tier. And so I hope you enjoyed this video, found it interesting, and if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.